I'm sorry. I'm just an engineer turned data analyst, and I only started very recently in this field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present two very simple case studies, one in manufacturing and one in IT, and I hope to show you how analytics is used in the industry in very diverse kind of problems. So we'll just start right away with our first case study. This is actually the work I did in ITC. They have a paper and paperboard division in Bhadrachalam, and I was responsible for studying one of the complaints that they were receiving in their paperboards. So we'll just go ahead and see what the problem was. This is how the problem looked like. It looks ugly and it annoyed a lot of customers. In fact, it was so bad that ITC was paying a huge amount of money back to the customers. So this revenue that they thought they were making out of their customers, actually they were paying it back because they were causing a lot of problems at the end of their customers. So what the problem that was that this is a paperboard and it has 3 layers, and the top layer used to get damaged, and once this goes on printing, it damages the dies, it damages the entire lot of paperboard. So ITC had to pay back all the damages that they have made. And another problem was that there was a competitor who was selling the same grade of the product and it did not have that effect. So that made problem very worse at the end of the company. So the work that I did basically involved to establish, first of all, where this defect is occurring. They did not know whether it is occurring inside the organization or is it occurring at the customer's end, wherever the processes are happening. Second was that are there any indicators we can use to quantify this kind of defect? This was a new kind of defect which is not there in the literature really in the pulp industry. So they had to come up with a measure by which they can measure it before it generates. Can I use some metric to establish whether this kind of paperboard will have this defect and this kind of paperboard will not have a defect? And then there are some improvement measures which we can find to eliminate this kind of defect, whether we can improve the product or whether we can upgrade packaging or other processes which will not lead to this kind of problem. Usually this is how analytics in the manufacturing industry looks like. You do a lot of reading because normally guys like me who go into industries to do data analysis are not domain experts. So we invest a lot of time reading and understanding about the industry. If I'm working, say in a cement factory, I will take a lot of time reading about what processes goes into manufacturing cement and what are the raw materials used, what are the different parameters that need to be controlled. So this is how we begin our analysis. Later on we collect the data based on the problems that we have to study. And then we can then go ahead and basically evolve rest of the analysis depending upon the domain. The last parts are not really fixed, but for this particular study we studied sheeting operations, packaging operations and whatever tests need to be conducted and how we can improve paperboards. This was basically reading about patents and things like that. So how do we start? Most of the analysis is basically with brainstorming with the people on the shop floor, because they have been working in the industry for the longest time. They know the processes the best. So they might not be able to really pinpoint the problems while they are working, but once someone sits with them and brainstorms with them, you get to know where the problems are occurring. You can figure out to the minimum possible details up to the greatest extent that where the certain problems can be occurring. So this kind of diagram we normally call fishbone diagram. And there are 5 things in it: methods, machines, measurements, material and personal. And in each of this you can then further go ahead whether my problem is occurring from machine point of view, whether it is occurring from personal point of view. So we do this to find root cause analysis that we want to, with respect to the problem that we are trying to address. Second thing is, when we know what are the possible root causes that could be leading to that defect, we establish what kind of data we need to take for to measure those kinds of defects or quantify those root causes. In my case, it was things like ply bond, caliber, moisture, roughness, substance. These all are important in paper industry. These are the standard metrics that these companies have to provide to their customers before they make an order or purchase. So this is basically is how good my paper board is measured using these kinds of characteristics. And then since I'm studying complaints, so what you normally do is that you collect the entire customer's data who have reported any kind of complaints over the past, just to, because you want to ideally do, what you want to do is that you want to compare the product which had defect with the product which did not have defect, and based on that only you can come up with what the differences are, and possibly those differences result in these kinds of problems. This is how a typical hypothesis testing looks like. What a hypothesis testing is that the two types of samples that you have collected, one with a defect and one with not defect, you compare those two and you find out which characteristics are different. In my case, what I found was that moisture was a bit higher in the paper boards which had defect, and second is that roughness was a little bit on the higher side. So what did we find? We find that moisture and roughness are really critical to this kind of problem. If the company can manage to control these two parameters better, they would not have to pay over 60 lakhs on a period of 18 months or so. So these are control parameters which are critical. But are we done yet? So this was the question. It looks like that we have ended up our analysis. We know what exactly is causing the problem. But the thing is that you know the parameters that have caused the problem, but you don't know where the problem has occurred, right? When I started, one of the problem was that we did not know whether the problem occurred at the customer's end or whether it occurred inside the factory. So that is also a big thing. If your customer is coming up with a complaint, you can't say that it is happening at your end if you don't know for sure. So we were not done yet. What was the way forward? In these kinds of things, what you normally do is that once you have established certain parameters which cause the defect, then you can divide your entire value chain into small segments, and you can take individual segments and analyze them. So in case of shop floor, it would be typically that if there are 10 operations happening on the product, you can take individual processes and study your product before the process and after the process and see what's happening there. So in my case, there were a lot of handling things. So what we did is that we took basically packaging areas, sheeting areas, and we compared again the samples before these operations and after these operations just to see what was happening. And what we found is that during the packaging operations, if you take the samples which had relatively high roughness and moisture, and you do packaging with those, so in packaging industry, what happens is paper industry, you have to stack large bundles of paper boards, and these are typically about 4 or 5 meters high sometimes. So what we found is that the paper boards which had high roughness and moisture, if you stack them up with some force, we were able to generate the exact same defect which customers were reporting. So now we know where the defect was happening. And then there was machine like pile turner, which I recommended for them to buy. The next thing was that can product itself can be improved. So there were tests like scuff resistance, which you can use to quantify this kind of defect. How it helps is that once you have produced your product, you can do a test using this scuff resistance, and you will immediately be able to identify whether this product is going to have a defect. Is it likely? And if you know that the parameters are out of range, then you can make better controls, you can improve the next lots. The last thing was that since it was a new kind of defect, it was not there in the literature. So people working in the shop floor did not know about it. Even when they would see this kind of thing happening, they would not report to their supervisors because they did not know it was a serious thing. So ultimately, people who are working in the shop floor have to know this is a serious thing, and as soon as you see it, you report it to the supervisor. Because if you make that first call that this problem is happening, immediate controls can be put into place. So this was a very simple case study. I hope it looked simple. But I would say the takeaway is that the culture usually for solving this kind of problems is that you have data capturing capabilities, and normally you understand that when you are solving these kinds of problems, a lot goes in. This is not easy to solve. At the end result seems very simple and straightforward, but when you are starting out, you really are in the dark. And all of this structure which I presented you, it really comes after you have solved the problem. When you have started, you really don't know anything. You are just starting on a blank slate. But what I realized, what was my takeaway from this was that simply data analysis does not help in any industry. You need to have a lot of domain expertise, because if you don't know what kind of process goes into these paperboard making, you cannot really improve anything. So this was one thing where I wanted to show you that data analysis and industry expertise, when both combine, it can solve some good, interesting problems. And now many of these things they have already implemented. So they might be saving a lot of money just because of simple analysis which someone did at their end. The second thing is more of kind of recent things which are happening in. This is related to text mining. This is the work I did at HP in Bangalore. So there is a metric called Net Promoter Score. Normally, when people talk about performance indicators, we normally check what is the bottom line, revenues, and things like that. But in industries way ahead now, especially in domains like web, they are looking at indicators like Net Promoter Score, which are said to be forward-looking indicators. Even Satya Nadella said that in very recent Windows 10 release. He said that Microsoft is moving from its traditional business models to measuring their performance using these kinds of indicators like Net Promoter Score. What a Net Promoter Score is, basically you take a survey. I'm just going to show you that it's really used. This is actually clip from my email I've taken. This was sent by Flipkart to me. So what they are doing is they are asking a simple question: how likely is it that you would recommend Flipkart to your friends? And it is measured on an 11-point scale. These surveys, if you will notice now, they are used by almost every company, every web-based company, e-commerce companies. And how you calculate Net Promoter Score is the percentage of people who rated you 8, 9 or 10 minus the percentage of people who rated you 6 or less. So the top are considered as promoters and the bottoms are considered as detractors. So ideally you would want to have more promoters than detractors, because the logic is that if promoters are more, then your product is really good. These are the comments which I picked up from Flipkart with respect to one of the products. What you can see in these comments is that people have gone there and put reviews of the mobile phones. They have put good mobile, go for it, and bought this phone, it is awesome, waste of money, things like that. Now the question is, if I want to measure customer loyalty, can I use these comments to come up with a metric? That's the question we are trying to address. But the real thing is, why care? I think everything comes down to money. And no business like HP will invest in anything which they think useless. They would want to ideally save some money. So what is happening is that when HP uses these surveys to measure these NPS scores, these surveys are very large scale surveys. They are very, very costly, and they are done mostly twice a year, not more than that, because it involves a lot of effort. And if you go and check, you will find that almost 24% of the people are researching reviews online. Most of the people have started putting the reviews online about the products they buy. So trend is clearly shifting towards online businesses. a lot of consumerism right now is buying things online from e-commerce websites. So the thing is, if there is so much data available online, free of cost, can I leverage this data to come up with a real-time score? Not get it twice a year, but really anytime I want. Because getting some feedback twice a year may end up having heavy costs on your business. Ideally, even for a startups or a e-commerce company, these costs could be very high and they can be very damaging in a very short period of time. So they would want to know it real time. What I did was basically, if you happen to know that there are languages we normally use a lot in data science industry, there are Python, and you combine that with a lot of domain research again. In this case, it's analyzing text data.